Commander Kyung-soo walked through the metal halls of the great ship Serenity's Edge. His boots made soft clicking sounds on the floor. He was new to this ship, new to this job. Today was his first day as part of the Galactic Defense Fleet. Everything felt big and important. The ship was huge. It had rooms for thousands of people from different planets. Kyung-soo had seen many alien species during his training, but being here made it all feel real. Blue-skinned Altarians walked next to tall gray Zentarians. Small, furry creatures from the outer rim chatted with floating gas beings from the core worlds. Kyung-soo stopped at a large door. The sign read, Admiral Hae-jin, Fleet Command. He took a deep breath and pressed the door button. The metal door slid open with a soft hiss. Admiral Hae-jin sat behind a big desk made of dark metal. She was older than Kyung-soo, with gray hair and tired eyes. Scars ran down the left side of her face. Her uniform had many medals and ribbons. She looked up when he entered. "Commander Kyung-soo," she said in a rough voice. "Sit down." Kyung-soo sat in the chair across from her desk. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. On the walls were star maps and pictures of different planets. One wall had a big screen showing space outside the ship. "Welcome to the Defense Fleet," Admiral Hae-jin said. "You did well in training. Your scores were high. But training and real work are different things." "Yes, Admiral," Kyung-soo replied. He tried to sound confident. Admiral Hae-jin touched a button on her desk. The big screen on the wall changed. It now showed a map of the galaxy. Thousands of tiny lights showed different star systems. Most of the lights were blue or green. But in one corner there was a red circle around a small yellow star. "See that red circle?" the Admiral asked. Kyung-soo looked at the screen. The red circle was far from the main travel routes. It looked lonely in the dark space. "Yes, Admiral. That is the Sol system. Inside that circle is a planet called Earth. The beings who live there are called humans." Admiral Hae-jin's voice became very serious. "You will never go there. You will never try to contact them. You will never even fly close to that system." Kyung-soo felt confused. "Why, Admiral? Are they dangerous?" Admiral Hae-jin was quiet for a long moment. She looked at the red circle on the screen. Her fingers drummed on the desk. Finally, she spoke. "Humans are off limits. We don't touch them. This rule has existed for 300 years. Every ship captain knows it. Every pilot learns it. Every soldier follows it." "But why?" Kyung-soo asked. "What makes them so special?" The Admiral stood up and walked to the big screen. She touched the red circle with her finger. "Because the last species that tried to bother them doesn't exist anymore." A cold feeling went down Kyung-soo's back. "What do you mean?" Admiral Hae-jin turned to look at him. Her scarred face was serious. "I mean they are completely gone. Not defeated. Not conquered. Gone. As if they never existed at all." The Admiral walked back to her desk and sat down. She opened a drawer and took out a small metal device. She placed it on the desk and pressed a button. A three-dimensional image appeared above the device. The image showed space near the Sol system. Around the yellow star were many small objects that blinked with red light. They formed a perfect circle around the entire system. "Those are warning beacons," Admiral Hae-jin explained. "They were put there 300 years ago by the Galactic Council. They send out a message in every known language." She pressed another button. A voice filled the room. It spoke in the common galactic language first, then in hundreds of other languages. The words were always the same. "Warning. This system is under absolute protection. Any ship that enters will be destroyed immediately. Any species that attacks will face total annihilation. Stay away. The message repeated over and over in different voices and languages. Some sounded musical. Others were harsh and growling. All of them carried the same warning. Kyung-soo listened to the message with growing fear. "Admiral, what kind of weapons do the humans have?" Admiral Hye-jin turned off the device. The message stopped. The room became quiet again. "That's the strange thing, Commander. As far as we know, they don't have many weapons. Their technology is not very advanced. They only learned to fly in space a few hundred years ago." This made Kyung-soo even more confused. "Then why are we afraid of them?" "Because," Admiral Hye-jin said slowly, "we're not afraid of their weapons. We're afraid of them." The Admiral stood up and walked to a small window. Outside, stars moved slowly past as the ship traveled through space. "Let me tell you what I know. 300 years ago, there was a species called the Velhrak. They were the strongest military force in the galaxy. Their ships were fast and powerful. Their soldiers were trained for war. They thought they could conquer anyone." She paused and looked back at Kyung-soo. The Velhrak looked at Earth and saw weak creatures who had just learned to leave their planet. They thought it would be easy to take over the human world, so they sent a huge fleet to conquer Earth. "What happened?" Kyung-soo asked, though he was not sure he wanted to know. "The fleet disappeared," Admiral Hye-jin said. "All 10,000 ships, gone. Then, one by one, every Velhrak colony went silent. Every military base stopped sending messages. Every ship in their space vanished. In less than 2 years, the entire Velhrak species was gone." Kyung-soo felt sick to his stomach. "The humans did that?" The only thing left of the Velhrak was a single message they sent before their home planet went. Dark. It said, "They learn, they adapt, they don't stop. Don't wake them up." Admiral Hye-jin returned to her desk and sat down. After that, the Galactic Council met in emergency session. They decided to put the Sol system under protection, not to protect other species from humans, but to protect humans from having to become that thing again. "I don't understand," Kyung-soo said. "The humans won the war, Commander, but the reports say that by the end, they had changed. They became something cold and efficient, something that solved problems by making them disappear completely. The Council was afraid that if humans joined galactic society, they would have to fight more wars, and each war would make them more like what they became with the Velhrak." Admiral Hye-jin looked directly at Kyung-soo. "So we leave them alone. We let them live in peace on their little planet, and we hope they stay peaceful." "But what if they want to leave their system?" Kyung-soo asked. Admiral Hye-jin smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "Then we hope they still remember how to be human." The meeting ended, and Kyung-soo left the Admiral's office with his head full of questions. As he walked through the ship's halls, he looked at all the different alien species working together. He wondered what it would be like if humans were among them. But more than that, he wondered what the humans were really like. Were they monsters waiting to wake up? Or were they just people who wanted to be left alone? He decided he did not want to find out. Pilot Tae-ho pushed his small fighter ship harder than he should have. The engines made angry sounds as he chased 3 pirate ships through the asteroid field. His hands gripped the controls tightly. Sweat ran down his face. "This is Defense Ship 7 calling for backup," he said into his radio. But only static came back. He was too far from the main fleet. The pirates had been raiding supply ships near the outer rim. Taeho had been on patrol when he saw them attack. A cargo vessel. He could not wait for help. People were dying. His ship shook as it dodged between large rocks floating in space. The pirates were fast, but Taeho was faster. He had always been good at flying. That's why they made him a pilot even though he was young. "Gotcha," he said as one pirate ship came into his weapon range. He pressed the trigger. Red beams of energy shot out from his ship. They hit the pirate vessel, and it exploded in a bright flash. The other two pirates turned to fight him. Energy beams flew past his ship. Taeho rolled and twisted through the asteroid field. A large rock exploded as pirate weapons hit it instead of him. He was doing well, too well. He got excited and chased the pirates deeper into the asteroid field. His navigation system beeped warnings, but he ignored them. He was winning. Then everything went wrong. A massive asteroid, bigger than a city, blocked his path. Taeho pulled hard on the controls to avoid hitting it. His ship spun around the rock, but when he came out the other side, his navigation screen was flashing red. "Warning," the computer voice said. "Navigation system damaged. Location unknown." The two remaining pirate ships had escaped while he dealt with the asteroid. Now Taeho was alone in space with broken navigation. He looked at his screens, trying to figure out where he was. The star patterns looked wrong. He had flown in this area before, but these stars were different. Slowly, a terrible feeling grew in his stomach. He checked his position readings again and again. "No. No. No," he whispered. His ship's computer finally found his location. The answer made his blood turn cold. He was inside the Sol system. He had crossed the forbidden boundary without realizing it. Panic filled his mind. The warning beacons would detect him soon. The automatic defense systems would activate. He would be destroyed just like the message promised. But as he looked around, he saw no defense systems, no giant weapons, no fleets of warships, just empty space and a few small planets orbiting a yellow star. One planet was blue and white and beautiful. That had to be Earth, the human home world. Another planet was red and rocky. His damaged ship was drifting toward the red planet. Taeho tried to restart his engines, but they would not work. The chase through the asteroids had damaged more than just his navigation. His power systems were failing. Soon, he would have no life support. He sent out a distress signal, knowing it was useless. No rescue ship would come here. No one would risk entering human space. His ship shook as it entered the atmosphere of the red planet. Taeho strapped himself in and prepared to crash. The ship fell like a burning rock through the thin air. He could see the ground coming up fast. The impact threw him forward against his safety straps. Metal groaned and bent around him. Smoke filled the cabin. Then everything went quiet. Taeho was alive, but his ship was broken. He checked his survival systems. He had air for maybe 2 days, water for 3, food for a week. But this planet was cold and had very little oxygen. His suit could keep him alive for a while, but not long enough for rescue. He was going to die on the human planet Mars. For 6 hours, he sat in his broken ship and waited for death. Then his radio crackled with sound. "Unknown vessel. This is Mars Research Station Echo. We detected your crash. Are you alive?" The voice spoke in perfect galactic standard language. A human was talking to him. Taeho was so surprised he almost forgot to answer. "Yes," he finally said. "I'm alive, but my ship is broken. We're sending a team to help you. Stay calm." "Wait," Taeho said quickly. I'm not human. I'm from the defense fleet. I know I'm not supposed to be here. There was a pause. Then the voice came back. We know. We've been watching your ship since you entered our system. Our people are still coming to help. 2 hours later, Tejo heard engines outside his ship. He looked through a small window and saw a human vehicle landing nearby. It was smaller than his fighter, but looked well built. 3 humans in spacesuits walked to his ship. They moved carefully across the rocky ground. One of them tapped on his ship's hull. Can you open your airlock? A woman's voice asked. Tejo pressed the button to open his ship's door. The 3 humans came inside. They removed their helmets, and Tejo saw human faces for the first time. They looked much like his own species, but their skin was darker, and their eyes were different colors. The woman who had spoken had long black hair and kind eyes. I'm Dr. So Young, she said. This is Engineer Jun-sik and Pilot Miran. We're here to help. Tejo stared at them. These were the creatures that destroyed an entire species? They looked so normal, so friendly. Thank you, he said. But why are you helping me? I broke the law by coming here. Dr. So Young smiled. Because you need help. That's enough reason. Engineer Jun-sik was already looking at Tejo's broken systems. Your main power unit is damaged, but I can fix it. Your navigation computer needs new parts, but we have similar technology. You understand my ship? Tejo asked, surprised. We've studied the beacons around our system for many years, Dr. So Young explained. We learned about galactic technology from them. We know there are other species out there, but we follow the rules that keep us separated. The rules say we're dangerous, Tejo said carefully. Dr. So Young nodded. Yes, we know what the warnings say. We also know our own history. The rules exist for good reasons. Pilot Miran brought food and water from their vehicle. The food tasted good, much like what Tejo ate at home. How long have you known about us? He asked. About 50 years, Dr. So Young said. We detected the beacons and figured out they were keeping others away from us. We decided to respect that and not try to leave our system. But don't you want to explore, to meet other species? Dr. So Young was quiet for a moment. Some of us do, but we also understand that our presence might cause problems. It's better to wait until everyone is ready. Jun-sik worked on the ship for several hours. He was very good with technology. He not only fixed the broken parts, but made some improvements. Your engines will work better now, he said proudly. Why are you doing this? Tejo asked. You could have just let me die. No one would know. Because, Dr. So Young said, helping people is what makes us human. It's who we choose to be. As Jun-sik finished the repairs, Dr. So Young gave Tejo a small device. This contains some information about us. Not our technology or military secrets, just who we are. Maybe someday your people will want to know. What should I tell my commanders? Tejo asked. Tell them the truth, Miran said. Tell them we helped you and sent you home safely. Tell them we're still following the rules. Tejo's ship was ready to fly again. The humans had fixed everything and even gave him extra supplies for the journey home. As he prepared to leave, Dr. So Young spoke to him through the radio. Tejo, be careful out there, and remember, not all species are the same as they were 300 years ago. As his ship lifted off from Mars, Tejo looked back at the human research station. It was small and peaceful, surrounded by red rocks and thin air. The humans had waved goodbye as he left. During the long flight home, Tejo thought about everything that had happened. The humans had been kind and helpful. They had advanced technology but used it to help. not hurt. They seemed like good people. But he also remembered Admiral Haye Jin's warnings. He remembered the story of the Velhrock. Maybe these humans were different from the ones who fought that war. Or maybe they were the same humans who had learned to control what they could become. Either way, Tai-Ho knew his life had changed. He had met the forbidden species, and they had saved him. Now he had to decide what to do with that knowledge. The alarm bells on Galactic Command Station rang for 6 straight hours. Commander Kyung-Soo had never seen so many officers running through the halls. Ships were launching from every docking bay. Emergency meetings were being called every few minutes. All because one young pilot had crashed on Mars. Intelligence Officer Min Jung sat in her small office deep inside the station. Her desk was covered with files, data tablets, and empty coffee cups. She had been working for 18 hours straight, trying to understand what Tai-Ho's accident meant. The door to her office opened. Council Leader Do-hyun walked in without knocking. He was a tall man with gray skin and serious eyes. Min Jung had never seen him look so worried. "Officer Min Jung," he said, sitting down across from her desk. "I need answers." "I'm still working on them, sir," Min Jung replied. She gestured to the mess of papers around her. "Tai-Ho's report is strange." "Strange how?" Min Jung picked up a data tablet and read from it. "He says the humans helped him. They fixed his ship, gave him food, and sent him home safely. They spoke perfect galactic standard language. They knew about our technology, but they also said they've been following the isolation rules for 50 years. Do-hyun leaned forward. "You think he's lying?" "No, sir. I've known Tai-Ho for 2 years. He's honest. Maybe too honest. But his story doesn't match what we know about humans." "What do we know about humans?" Do-hyun asked. Min Jung realized she didn't have a good answer. "That's the problem, sir. We don't really know anything, just old stories and warnings." Do-hyun stood up and walked to the small window in Min Jung's office. Outside, ships continued to launch into space. "I'm putting you in charge of a full investigation. I want to know everything about humans, everything about the Sol system, everything about what happened 300 years ago." "Sir, most of that information is classified above my level." "Not anymore." Do-hyun placed a small card on her desk. "This gives you access to everything. Files that haven't been opened in centuries. Reports that only council leaders can read. Find the truth, Min Jung." After Do-hyun left, Min Jung stared at the access card. It was made of black metal and felt heavy in her hand. She had never seen one before, but she knew what it meant. Total access to the galactic database. She inserted the card into her computer. New file directories appeared on her screen, thousands of files that had been hidden before. She started with the oldest ones. The first file was labeled Sol System, First Contact Protocols, Classified Level 10. Min Jung opened it and began to read. The report was from 347 years ago. A science ship had detected radio signals from the Sol System. The signals were primitive but showed intelligence. The ship's captain wanted to make contact, but the Galactic Council decided to wait and watch. "Species shows rapid technological development," the report said. "Recommend careful observation before contact." Min Jung found more files from the same time period. Ships had been secretly watching Earth for decades. The humans were developing quickly. Too quickly. In 50 years, they went from basic radio to spaceflight, one report noted. "This is the fastest technological advancement we have ever recorded." But then the files stopped. For 3 years, There were no reports from the Sol system. Then came a file that made Min Jung's blood run cold. Emergency report. Vel'Hrak fleet missing. All ships lost. The report was short and filled with fear. The Vel'Hrak had sent their biggest fleet to conquer Earth. 10,000 ships with the best weapons and soldiers in the galaxy. They were supposed to return in 6 months with news of victory. Instead, they vanished completely. Min Jung found more reports from the search teams sent to find the missing fleet. They found nothing. No wreckage, no distress signals, no trace of what happened to 10,000 ships and their crews. Then came reports about Vel'Hrak colonies going silent. One by one, every Vel'Hrak world stopped sending messages. Search teams were sent to investigate. They found empty cities and abandoned ships. No bodies, no signs of battle, just empty worlds. The last report about the Vel'Hrak was a single message from their home planet. They came from nowhere. Ships we had never seen before. They didn't demand surrender. They didn't negotiate. They just started taking apart our defenses piece by piece. Every weapon we used against them, they improved and used against us. Every tactic we tried, they learned and did better. They don't fight like soldiers. They fight like scientists solving a problem, and we are the problem they are solving. Don't wake them up. Don't make them remember what they can become. After that message, the Vel'Hrak homeworld went silent forever. Min Jung sat back in her chair, feeling sick. She had found dozens of files about the Vel'Hrak, but not a single file about what the humans actually did. It was as if the galactic government didn't want to know. She searched for any information about human military technology. There was almost nothing. A few blurry images of strange ships, reports about weapons that adapted in real time, notes about human soldiers who learned new skills during battle. But the most disturbing thing was a medical report from a destroyed Vel'Hrak research station. It described human prisoners who had been captured for study. Subjects show unusual neural plasticity. Brain scans indicate rapid formation of new neural pathways when exposed to new information. Learning speed appears to increase under stress conditions. Subjects can master complex tasks in hours that normally take weeks. Recommend extreme caution. These beings may be more dangerous than initially assessed. The report ended there. The research station had been destroyed a day later. Min Jung spent hours reading through classified files. She learned that after the Vel'Hrak disappeared, the Galactic Council had held emergency meetings for months. They debated what to do about the humans. Some wanted to send diplomats to make contact. Others wanted to send a military fleet to deal with the threat. But the final decision was different from both ideas. Motion passed. Sol system to be declared a protected zone. No contact allowed. Warning beacons to be established. Humans to be left alone indefinitely. The vote was unanimous. Every species in the galaxy agreed. Even the most warlike races voted to leave humans alone. Min Jung found the reason in another classified file. It was a report from the only survivor of a human encounter. A Vel'Hrak soldier named Kex Thar had escaped when his ship was destroyed. He hid on an asteroid for months before being rescued. His report was terrifying. They didn't hate us. That was the worst part. When they destroyed our ships, they looked sad about it. Like they didn't want to hurt us but had no choice. One human soldier told me they were sorry before they took apart our weapons. They studied everything. Every circuit, every weapon, every piece of technology. They learned how it worked and then made it better. In 3 days, their ships were more advanced than ours. In a week, they were building weapons we had never imagined. They didn't celebrate victories. They just solved problems. And we were a problem that needed to be solved completely. Min-jung closed the file and rubbed her tired eyes. The picture was becoming clear, and it scared her. Meanwhile, on Mars, Dr. So-young was conducting her own investigation. After helping Tae-ho, she had become curious about the galactic community that was keeping her species isolated. She gathered her research team in a small meeting room at the Mars Research Station. Engineer Jun-sik and pilot Mi-ran sat at a metal table with her. On the wall was a screen showing the warning beacons around their solar system. "I've been analyzing the technology from Tae-ho's ship," So-young said. "It's not that different from what we've developed. In some ways, we're more advanced." "So why are we locked up in here?" Mi-ran asked. Jun-sik pulled up some data on his tablet. "I've been studying the beacons for years. They're not just warnings, they're also communication devices. I think I can modify one to send messages." "Messages to who?" So-young asked. "To whoever is listening out there. Maybe it's time we asked some questions." So-young thought about this carefully. "Tae-ho said there are thousands of species in galactic civilization. They all live and work together. But they're afraid of us. Why? Maybe we should find out," Mi-ran said. So-young nodded slowly. "Start working on the communication system, but be careful. If we're going to talk to them, we need to know what we're getting into." As Jun-sik began his work, So-young looked out the window at the red landscape of Mars. Somewhere out there, beyond the stars, an entire galaxy of intelligent species lived their lives. And they were all afraid of humanity. She needed to know why. Min-jung had been reading classified files for 3 days straight. Her office was now filled with printed reports, data tablets, and empty food containers. She had barely slept. The more she learned about the human situation, the more questions she had. The deepest files in the galactic database required special permission to access. Min-jung used her black security card to open a folder labeled Terra Incident, Complete Analysis, Eyes Only. The first document was a timeline that made her hands shake as she read it. Day 1. Velhrak. First Fleet arrives at Sol System. 10,000 ships, the largest military force ever assembled. Fleet Commander Zex Moore sends standard surrender demand to Earth. Day 2. No response from humans. Velhrak ships begin bombardment of Earth's moon as a show of force. Day 3. Human ships. Detected leaving Earth, design unknown. Number estimated at less than 100 vessels. Day 4. First engagement between Velhrak and human forces. Initial Velhrak victory. 12 human ships destroyed. No Velhrak losses. Day 5. Second engagement. Velhrak ships report human weapons. Have changed. Human tactics more effective. Velhrak losses 47 ships. Day 8. Major battle near Jupiter. Velhrak forces suffer heavy casualties. Human ships demonstrate new weapon types not seen in previous encounters. Velhrak losses over 300 ships. Day 12. Velhrak Fleet Commander requests reinforcements. Reports that human technology is evolving during combat. Day 15. Human ships now superior to Velhrak vessels in all categories. Speed, weapons, shields all exceed Velhrak capability. Day 20. Velhrak retreat to outer Sol System. Human forces pursue. Day 25. Last transmission from Velhrak First Fleet. They're not fighting us, they're studying us. Minjung stopped reading and took a deep breath. The timeline continued for several more months, but the pattern was clear. The humans had learned and improved faster than anyone thought possible. She opened another file labeled Technical Analysis, Human Combat Adaptation. The report was written by the galaxy's best military scientists. They had studied every piece of data from the Terra incident, trying to understand how the humans had won. Human combat effectiveness increased exponentially during each engagement, the report stated. Analysis of ship debris shows rapid design evolution. Human vessels from day 1 were primitive compared to galactic standard. Human vessels from day 25 exceeded all known technology. The report included technical drawings of human ships. The early designs were simple and crude, but each new design was more advanced. By the end, human ships looked like nothing else in the galaxy. Most disturbing is evidence of real-time adaptation during battle, the scientists wrote. Wreckage analysis shows human ships modifying their own weapons and defenses during combat. This suggests learning and manufacturing capabilities far beyond our understanding. Minjung found video recordings from Vel'Harak ships. The image quality was poor, but she could see human vessels in action. They moved differently than other ships, more fluid, more intelligent. In one video, a human ship was hit by a Vel'Harak energy weapon. The ship's shields flickered and failed. But instead of being destroyed, the human ship seemed to analyze the attack. Within minutes, its shields came back online, stronger than before. The same weapon that had damaged it now had no effect. Another video showed human ships working together in ways that looked impossible. They moved like parts of a single organism, sharing information instantly. When one ship learned something, all the ships knew it immediately. But the most frightening video was from the final days of the conflict. It showed hundreds of human ships surrounding a Vel'Harak fortress. The fortress was huge, armed with the most powerful weapons the Vel'Harak had. It should have been impossible to defeat. The human ships didn't attack the fortress. They just studied it. For hours they flew around it, scanning every detail. Then slowly they began to take it apart, not with weapons, but with some kind of tool that dissolved the fortress's armor piece by piece. The Vel'Harak inside surrendered, but the human ships kept working. They took apart every weapon, every system, every piece of technology. By the time they were finished, there was nothing left but empty space. Minjung found the personal log of the Vel'Harak fortress commander. They're not trying to kill us. They're trying to understand us. Every weapon we fire, they examine. Every tactic we use, they perfect. It's like fighting an enemy who becomes smarter every time you attack them. We thought we were warriors, but they're turning us into teachers, and we're teaching them how to destroy us. The technical analysis included estimates of human learning speed. The numbers were impossible to believe. Based on observed adaptation rates, humans can master new technologies approximately 1,000 times faster than any known species, the report concluded. They appear to have no upper limit to learning speed. Under combat conditions, this rate may increase further. Minjung opened another file labeled Vel'Harak Extinction Analysis. This report tried to explain how an entire species could disappear so completely. Human forces did not engage in traditional conquest, the analysis stated. They systematically located and neutralized every Vel'Harak military asset in the galaxy. Process was methodical and complete. No Vel'Harak military technology was left. Functional. The report included a map of the galaxy showing Vel'Harak territory. It was vast, covering hundreds of star systems. Red dots marked each Velhrak world as it went silent. Timeline suggests coordinated simultaneous operations across thousands of light years, the scientists wrote. This level of coordination requires either faster-than-light communication or predictive planning beyond our capabilities. But the most disturbing part was what happened to the Velhrak civilians. The report stated that human forces had relocated all non-military Velhrak to a single planet. They provided food, shelter, and medical care. They were not harmed. But then something strange happened. The relocated Velhrak began to change. They stopped acting like the warlike species they had been. They became peaceful, almost docile. Within a generation, they had forgotten their military culture entirely. Possible evidence of psychological modification, the report suggested. Velhrak survivors show no interest in warfare or technology. They appear to have been domesticated. Minjung felt sick reading this. The humans hadn't just defeated their enemies. They had changed them into something else. She found one more file that made everything clear. It was labeled Final Assessment, Human Threat Level. The report was signed by every major military leader in the galaxy. Every species had agreed with its conclusions. Humans represent an unprecedented threat to galactic stability, not because they are aggressive, but because they are adaptive. They do not seek conquest. They seek understanding. But their method of understanding is to completely dismantle and rebuild whatever they encounter. Recommendation: total isolation. Humans must be contained within their home system. Any contact risks triggering their adaptive response. If they join galactic civilization, they will inevitably improve upon it until they have replaced it entirely. They are not evil. They may not even be aware of their effect on others. But they cannot help themselves. They see problems, and they fix them. We have become very aware that we are problems they could fix. The report ended with a chilling observation. The Velhrak made the mistake of attacking humans when humans were still learning to be human. If someone attacks them now, after 300 years of peace and development, we cannot predict what they might become. Minjung closed the file and sat in her chair, staring at nothing. She finally understood why the galaxy was afraid of humanity. It wasn't because humans were violent or evil. It was because they were too good at everything. They didn't conquer their enemies. They understood them so completely that resistance became impossible. They didn't destroy civilizations. They improved them until they became something else entirely. The humans were contained not because they were dangerous to others, but because others were dangerous to them. Every conflict would make them stronger. Every challenge would make them more capable. And now Tai-Ho had made contact. He had shown the humans that there was a galaxy full of problems out there. Problems that needed solving. Minjung realized that the galaxy's worst fear might be about to come true. Not because the humans wanted to conquer anyone, but because they might decide to help. Minjung's investigation had revealed the truth about humanity, but she needed to understand more. She used her security clearance to access the deepest files in the galactic database, files that had been sealed for 300 years. She found a folder labeled Human Psychology Analysis, Project Deep Think. Inside were hundreds of reports written by the galaxy's best scientists and philosophers. They had spent decades trying to understand how human minds worked. The first report was from Dr. Vel 9, a brilliant psychologist from the academic worlds. Human brains are different from all other known species. Their neural structure allows for rapid formation of new connections, but more importantly, they seem to have no limit on how many connections they can form. Other species reach a learning plateau. Humans do not. Under normal conditions, humans learn at roughly the same rate as other intelligent species. However, under stress or threat conditions, their learning rate increases dramatically. Combat appears to trigger a state we have labeled hyper-adaptation. Min Jung found brain scans taken from human prisoners during the Vel'Hraq conflict. The images showed human brains literally rewiring themselves in real time. New neural pathways formed and strengthened within hours. Subject observed learning Vel'Hraq language in 4 hours, one report noted. Subject then demonstrated understanding of Vel'Hraq military tactics and began suggesting improvements to their ship designs. Subject appeared genuinely interested in helping optimize Vel'Hraq combat effectiveness, even though they were at war. This confused Min Jung until she read more reports. The humans didn't just learn to defeat their enemies, they learned to understand them completely, and once they understood something, they couldn't help but try to improve it. Humans seem incapable of leaving problems unsolved, Dr. Vel9 wrote. If they see inefficiency, they fix it. If they see conflict, they resolve it. If they see suffering, they end it. This is not a choice for them. It appears to be a fundamental part of their nature. Min Jung found recordings of conversations between human and Vel'Hraq prisoners. She expected to hear hatred or anger. Instead, she heard humans asking questions. Why do your ships use so much energy for propulsion? We found a way to reduce that by 60%. Your soldiers look tired. We developed a new ration that provides better nutrition. Your weapons overheat after extended use. We can show you how to fix that. The Vel'Hraq prisoners had been confused and frightened by this. They expected torture or threats. Instead, they got friendly humans who seemed genuinely interested in making their technology better. They broke our will to fight not through violence, but through kindness, one Vel'Hraq survivor had written. How do you maintain hatred for? Someone who keeps improving your life? Min Jung found more disturbing evidence in a file labeled Human Combat Evolution, Real-Time Analysis. During the Terra incident, galactic observers had tried to track how human technology changed. The results were frightening. Day 1. Human ships were primitive, using basic chemical rockets and simple weapons. Day 5. Human ships showed fusion propulsion and energy weapons comparable to standard galactic technology. Day 10. Human ships exceeded Vel'Hraq technology in all categories. Day 20. Human ships demonstrated capabilities that violated several laws of physics. Day 30. Human ships appeared to be using technology that had not been invented by any known species. By the end of the conflict, human vessels were more advanced than anything in our database, the report concluded. They had invented entirely new forms of propulsion, weapons, and defensive systems. Most disturbing, they did all of this while actively fighting a war. Min Jung read testimonies from galactic scientists who had studied human wreckage. Every piece of human technology we examined was more efficient than the equivalent galactic standard. Their computers were faster, their materials were stronger, their energy systems were more effective, but we couldn't understand how any of it worked. It was as if they had taken everything we knew about science and engineering and improved it all at once. Theories that we had spent centuries developing, they had perfected in weeks. The most frightening thing was that their technology was still evolving. Even broken pieces of human ships were modifying themselves, trying to repair damage and improve performance. But the psychological reports revealed something even more disturbing. The humans hadn't been trying to win the war. They had been trying to understand it. Human military strategy focused on analysis rather than destruction, one report stated. They studied every Velhrock tactic, every weapon system, every military doctrine. Once they understood how the Velhrock fought, they began teaching the Velhrock how to fight better. This created a psychological crisis among Velhrock forces. They found themselves using tactics suggested by their human enemies. Their own weapons were improved by human modifications. They began to see humans not as enemies, but as teachers. Min Jung found the final report from the Velhrock Military Command. It was written just before their home world went silent. We cannot fight them anymore. Not because we lack the strength, but because we lack the will. Every battle teaches them more about us. Every victory we achieve shows them something new to improve. We have become students in our own war, and they are our teachers. They do not hate us. They understand us better than we understand ourselves. They know our weaknesses and our strengths, our fears and our hopes, and they are trying to help us become better than we are. This is why we surrender, not to superior force, but to superior understanding. They have solved us like a puzzle, and their solution is to make us into something we never knew we could become. Min Jung realized that the galaxy's fear of humans was completely justified, but not for the reasons most people thought. Humans weren't dangerous because they were aggressive or violent. They were dangerous because they were helpful. They couldn't see a problem without solving it. They couldn't encounter inefficiency without fixing it. They couldn't meet another species without trying to help them become better, and in a galaxy full of different species with different cultures, all adapted to their own ways of life, human helpfulness could destroy everything that made those species unique. She found one final file that explained the real reason for the quarantine. It was written by the Galactic Council immediately after the Terra incident. Humans represent an existential threat to galactic diversity, not through conquest, but through improvement. If humans join galactic civilization, they will inevitably optimize it. They will solve our conflicts, improve our technology, and enhance our societies. This sounds beneficial, but it is not. Galactic civilization exists because of our differences. Our conflicts drive innovation. Our inefficiencies preserve cultural identity. Our problems define who we are as species. Humans would solve all of this. They would create a perfect galactic society where every species was optimized for maximum efficiency and happiness. But in doing so, they would erase what makes us unique. We would all become variations of the same theme. Different in appearance, but identical in thought and purpose. The rich diversity of galactic civilization would be replaced by human-optimized homogeneity. Therefore, humans must remain isolated, not to protect us from them, but to protect them from us. Because if we ever force them to solve the problem of galactic civilization, they will, and we will all become something we never chose to be. Min Jung sat back in her chair, overwhelmed by what she had learned. The humans were terrifying because they were too good at being helpful. They were locked away because their kindness could destroy the galaxy. But now she had an even bigger problem. Taeho's contact with the humans meant the isolation was breaking down. Dr. So Young and her team knew about galactic civilization. They were studying it, trying to understand it. And if there was one thing the files had made clear, it was that humans couldn't stop themselves from trying to improve anything they understood. Min Jung realized that time was running out. The humans had learned about the galaxy. Soon they would start asking questions. And once they started asking questions, they would inevitably begin finding answers. Answers that might solve problems the galaxy didn't want solved. She reached for her communicator to contact Council Leader Do Hyun. He needed to know what she had discovered. But more importantly, he needed to know that the 300-year isolation of humanity was about to end, whether the galaxy was ready for it or not. Dr. So Young stood in the communication room of Mars Research Station, looking at the strange device Jun-Sik had built. It looked like a metal flower with dozens of thin antenna petals reaching toward the ceiling. Lights blinked along its surface, in complex patterns. "It's ready," Jun-Sik announced. "I've modified one of the warning beacons to send messages instead of just broadcasting warnings. We can talk to anyone within 50 light years." Pilot Mi Ran checked her instruments. "I'm detecting response signals already. Someone out there is listening." So Young felt nervous and excited at the same time. For 300 years, humanity had been isolated from galactic civilization. Today, that might change. "Send the message," she said. Jun-Sik pressed a button. The device hummed softly as it sent humanity's first intentional message to the galaxy. "This is Dr. So Young of Mars Research Station, representing Earth. We know you are out there. We know about the quarantine around our system. We would like to talk." They waited. For 10 minutes, there was only silence. Then the device crackled to life. "Dr. So Young, this is Intelligence Officer Min Jung of Galactic Command. I have been investigating your species. We need to talk immediately." So Young looked at her team with surprise. "They responded faster than I expected." "Dr. So Young," Min Jung's voice continued, "I must warn you, what I am about to tell you may change everything for your people." "We're listening," So Young replied. Over. The next hour, Min Jung explained everything she had learned. She told them about the Velhrak conflict. She described how humans had adapted and learned during combat. She explained why the galaxy had decided to isolate humanity. When she finished, the communication room was silent. So Young and her team stared at each other in shock. "You're saying we destroyed an entire species?" Miran asked quietly. "Not destroyed," Min Jung corrected. "Transformed. The Velhrak still exist, but they are no longer the same species they were before. They became peaceful, almost docile. Your people didn't kill them. You fixed them." Jun-Sik shook his head. "That doesn't sound right. Humans don't change other species." "According to our records, you do," Min Jung said. "You can't help yourselves. When you encounter a problem, you solve it. When you see inefficiency, you improve it. The Velhrak were a problem that needed solving." So Young felt sick to her stomach. "Are you saying we're monsters?" "No," Min Jung replied. "That's the terrible thing. You're not monsters at all. You're helpers. You want to make everything better, but sometimes making things better means changing them into something completely different." The conversation was interrupted by another voice on the communication channel. It was older, more authoritative. "Dr. So Young, this is Admiral Hai Jin of the Defense Fleet. I'm taking over this conversation." So Young had heard that name before. Taeho had mentioned Admiral Hai Jin when he described his briefing about humans. "Admiral," So Young said carefully, "we helped one of your pilots when he crashed on Mars. We fixed his ship and sent him home safely." "I know," Admiral Hai Jin replied. "That act of kindness has created the biggest crisis in galactic history." "Crisis? How is helping someone a crisis?" "Because now you know we exist," the Admiral explained. "And humans who know about problems try to solve them. The galaxy has many problems, Dr. So Young. Wars, poverty, disease, inefficient governments, unfair social systems. If you learn about all of these problems, what will you do?" So Young thought about this question. We would try to help, I suppose. Exactly. And that terrifies every species in the galaxy. Admiral He-Jin's words hung in the air like a dark cloud. So Young began to understand why humanity had been isolated. Admiral, are you saying that we can never join galactic civilization? I'm saying that if you join us, you will change us, whether you mean to or not. Your species cannot encounter inefficiency without fixing it. You cannot see suffering without ending it. You cannot observe conflict without resolving it. Junsik spoke up. Those sound like good things. They are good things, Admiral Hyejin agreed. But they are also dangerous things. The galaxy is diverse because different species have different ways of solving problems. Some are inefficient. Some cause conflict. Some even cause suffering. But these differences are what make us unique. If you solve our problems for us, we will all become more like you. Efficient, peaceful, optimized for happiness and productivity, but we will lose what makes us who we are. So Young walked to the window and looked out at the red landscape of Mars. In the distance, Earth hung like a blue jewel in the black sky. So our choice is to stay isolated forever or to join the galaxy and accidentally destroy its diversity. That was the choice 300 years ago, Admiral Hyejin said. But now we have a new problem. The Admiral paused, and So Young heard other voices talking in the background. When Admiral Hyejin spoke again, her voice was grim. Dr. So Young, we are facing an enemy that we cannot defeat. Something that threatens to destroy every world in the galaxy. We have tried everything, used every weapon, deployed every strategy. Nothing works. So Young felt a chill run down her spine. What kind of enemy? We call them the Devourers. They consume entire star systems, turning matter into energy for their own purposes. They appeared at the edge of the galaxy 6 months ago. Since then, they have destroyed 47 worlds. Min Jung's voice joined the conversation. Our best scientists estimate that they will reach the core worlds within 2 years. After that, every inhabited system will fall within a decade. We are going to ask you for help, Admiral He-Jin said quietly. But first, you need to understand what that means. Another voice joined the channel. It was Council Leader Do Hyun. Dr. So Young, I am authorized to speak for the Galactic Council. We know that asking for human help means ending your isolation. It means accepting that human involvement will change galactic civilization forever. But if we don't ask for help, there will be no galactic civilization left to change. So Young looked at her team. Junsik and Miran stared back at her with worried expressions. They were 3 humans on a research station on Mars, and the fate of the galaxy was being placed in their hands. What exactly are you asking us to do? So Young asked. We want you to study the Devourers, Do Hyun explained. Learn how they work, find their weaknesses, develop a way to stop them. And if we succeed, then humanity will have saved the galaxy. But you will also have proven that you can solve any problem, defeat any enemy, overcome any challenge. Every species in the galaxy will know that humans are capable of anything, which means they will turn to you for every problem they cannot solve themselves. You will become the galaxy's problem solvers, its fixers, its improvers, and slowly everything will become more like what humans think it should be. So Young was quiet for a long time. Finally, she spoke. We need time to think about this, and we need to talk to our own people. How long do you need? Do Hyun asked. Give us a week, So Young replied. This decision affects all of humanity. It's not something 3 people can decide alone. You have 1 week, Admiral Hyejin said. But understand, Dr. So Young, every day we wait, more worlds die. The Devourers don't negotiate. They don't show mercy. They just consume everything in their path. If you decide to help us, it will mean the end of human isolation. If you decide not to help us, it may mean the end of everything else. The communication channel went silent. So Young, Junsik, and Miran stood in the quiet room, each lost in their own thoughts. They had wanted to make contact with galactic civilization. They had succeeded beyond their wildest dreams. Now they had to decide whether that success would save the galaxy or transform it beyond recognition. The choice was theirs. But either way, everything was about to change. The week of decision became 4 days of panic when the Devourers moved faster than anyone expected. Emergency alarms blared across every galactic communication channel. 3 more star systems had gone silent in the space of 48 hours. Commander. Kyung-soo stood on the bridge of his ship watching the evacuation of Kepler Station. Thousands of refugee ships fled from the approaching darkness that consumed everything in its path. His orders were to help with the evacuation, but everyone knew it was hopeless. The Devourers were not like any enemy the galaxy had faced before. They were not ships or soldiers or weapons. They were something else entirely, massive structures that looked like dark metal flowers, each one the size of a small moon. They moved through space slowly but steadily, and everything they touched simply ceased to exist. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving a priority message from Earth." Kyung-soo felt his heart jump. "Put it through." The main screen flickered to life, showing Dr. So Young in the communication room on Mars. She looked tired but determined. "This is Dr. So Young calling Galactic Command. We've made our decision." Admiral Haijin's voice came through the channel immediately. "Dr. So Young, thank goodness. The situation has gotten worse." "We know," So Young replied. "We've been monitoring your communication channels. We can see what's happening." "Then you know we're running out of time." So Young nodded. "Humanity has decided to help, but we need you to understand something first." She paused, looking directly into the camera. "We've spent the last 4 days studying everything you've sent us about the Devourers. Our scientists have been working around the clock, and we've come to some conclusions." "What kind of conclusions?" Admiral Haijin asked. "The kind that will change everything," So Young said. "But before we share them, we need you to promise something." Council Leader Do-han's voice joined the channel. "What do you need?" "Promise that after this is over, after we deal with the Devourers, you won't try to isolate us again. No more quarantine. No more keeping us locked in our solar system." There was a long pause. Finally, Do-hyun spoke. "Dr. So Young, you know what that means. Human involvement in galactic affairs will change everything." "Yes, it will," So Young agreed. "But maybe it's time for things to change." Kyung-soo watched the conversation with fascination. This small human woman was negotiating with the most powerful leaders in the galaxy, and they were listening to her. "Very well," Do-hyun said. "After this crisis is over, humanity will be welcomed as a full member of galactic civilization. You have my word." "Good," So Young replied. "Now let me tell you what we've learned about the Devourers." The screen changed to show a complex diagram. It looked like a cross-section of one of the massive enemy structures. "The Devourers are not weapons," So Young explained. "They're not invaders from another galaxy. They're not even alive in the way we understand life." "Then what are they?" Admiral Haijin asked. "They're machines. Very old machines. We estimate they were built approximately 1 million years ago. June 6. Voice could be heard in the background, providing technical details. Their purpose was to consume dead matter and convert it to energy. They were designed to clean up after the extinction of their builders. But something went wrong, So Young continued. The machines that were supposed to tell them what was dead and what was alive stopped working. Now they think everything is dead matter that needs to be consumed. Kyung-soo stared at the diagram. You mean they're trying to help? In a way, yes, So Young said. They see the galaxy as contaminated with dead matter. From their perspective, they're cleaning up a mess. Admiral Hyojin's voice was tight with frustration. This is all very interesting, Dr. So Young, but how does it help us stop them? Because, So Young smiled, we don't need to stop them. We need to fix them. The channel went silent for several seconds. Then Do-hyun spoke. Fix them? The Devourers have been malfunctioning for nearly 1 million years. They've forgotten their original purpose. All we have to do is remind them. Miran's voice joined the explanation. We've analyzed their communication protocols. They're still trying to receive instructions from their builders. They're just not getting any response. So we give them a response, So Young concluded. We tell them the cleanup is complete. We send them home. Kyung-soo couldn't believe what he was hearing. You want to talk to them? We want to debug them, Jun-sik said. It's really just a software problem. Admiral Hyojin sounded skeptical. Dr. So Young, these machines have destroyed dozens of worlds. Our most powerful weapons can't even scratch them. That's because you've been trying to fight them, So Young explained. But they're not enemies. They're just broken tools trying to do a job that was finished 1 million years ago. Even if you're right, Do-hyun said, how do you plan to communicate? With machines that old, their technology will be completely different from anything we know. So Young's smile widened. That's the easy part. Humans are very good at learning new things. Commander Kyung-soo watched as Dr. So Young laid out humanity's plan. It was unlike any military strategy he had ever heard. Instead of weapons and tactics, the humans talked about communication protocols and debugging procedures. We'll need to get close to one of them, So Young explained. Close enough to establish a direct connection to their control systems. That's suicide, Admiral Hyojin protested. Every ship that gets near them is destroyed. Every ship that gets near them while they're in cleaning mode, So Young corrected. But if we can convince them we're technicians here to perform maintenance, they might let us approach. And if they don't? So Young's expression became serious. Then we'll learn to adapt. Humans are good at that too. The conversation continued for another hour as the human team explained their analysis in detail. Kyung-soo found himself impressed by their approach. While every other species had tried to fight the Devourers, humans had tried to understand them. Finally, Admiral Hyojin made the decision. Very well, Dr. So Young. We'll give you the chance to try. But we can't wait long. The Devourers are less than a week away from the core worlds. We'll be ready, So Young promised. But as the communication channel closed, Kyung-soo realized that everything was about to change. If the humans succeeded, they would have saved the galaxy by solving a problem that no one else could solve. They would have proven that their way of thinking, understanding instead of fighting, was superior. And if they failed, both humanity and the rest of the galaxy would be consumed by ancient machines that had forgotten how to stop cleaning. Either way, the age of human isolation was over. The galaxy was about to learn what humans could really do when they put their minds to solving a problem. Kyung-soo just hoped the galaxy was ready for the answer.